everyone, and welcome to my review of The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. We're going to just be reviewing all the Hobbit movies today, but I especially want to talk about Desolation of Smaug for just being the crazy experience it was. It was packed full of incident and really fun. This is a movie that knows exactly what it's going to do and what it's going to be setting up. It's a sequel to An Unexpected Journey, which itself is a very long adaptation of a very relatively small children's book. The Desolation of Smaug is the second film. It's considered the bridge. Usually these bridge films aren't that great. In trilogies, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head except for what I'd have to say Mockingjay Part 1, which is a 4-film series, so that's different. The Hunger Games had 4 films. They decided to split the third one into 2 parts, which is what Fast and Furious is going to do. They're going to make Fast and Furious 10 into 2 parts, I believe, just to pad it out as much as they can, and that's ridiculous. But it's just a way to make money, because think about it, The Hobbit as one film would not be lucrative enough, and just for them to do one 4-hour movie, no one would go see that. As it is, theaters don't make money from long movies unless you're Avengers Endgame. It's actually interesting that the highest grossing movies of all time have all been relatively long, but they're all event films that have lots of people wanting to go see them. Look at Avengers Endgame, look at Avatar and Titanic, both James Cameron films, which were the highest grossing movies up until this point, and Lord of the Rings Return of the King, which is 3 hours and 20 minutes and was, at the time, one of the top 5 highest grossing movies ever made, and it's still up there. I believe it's one of the 10 highest grossing films. But if you look at a movie like The Hobbit, it doesn't have a lot, aside from word of mouth. It has terrific marketing. The movies came out during my lifetime. They came out when I was in middle school, and they were these big adventure movies, and I never got around to see them. I actually had a lot of interest in The Hobbit, and I would have gone. I just never took off, and it was never something that demanded a lot of interest from me. I started to watch Lord of the Rings in 2013, and I remember this. I was in middle school, and I believe it was February break, actually, when I watched my first Lord of the Rings movie, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I watched The Fellowship of the Ring, and I was 12 years old, I believe, yeah. Or I was 11. No, I was 11 when I watched it, which is really weird. Yeah. So 11-year-old me totally enjoyed it. I thought it was too long. I definitely did. I watched The Terminator and Amityville Horror when I was 11 in Chicago. And now cut to now, and I'm 18, and I'm just for the first time seeing all the Hobbits, and I'm thinking they're really a whole batch of fun. These are fun movies. Peter Jackson knows what he's doing. He's stretching really thin material, which is a problem. It's a problem if you want to have a lot of, dense moments from the book. I mean, you just don't get that, but that's expected. I'm not expecting to get The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug be, exactly like the book. They have to add and stretch things and, put bits of mythology in there to pad it out, but it's fun. I look at a movie from that perspective. If you can have fun with the characters, and if you can have fun with the way they're telling the story, then it's doing a good job. This was compared to, by Peter Bradshaw, really good critic for The Guardian. He said this was like a Saturday morning picture, just fun time, and it really is. There's a lot of adventure in this film. It feels comparable to an Indiana Jones movie. They're going after a stone. There's a treasure room that they have to break into, a large dragon. A lot of fun, and the way the film ends had me very frustrated at first. Not very frustrated, just disappointed. I'm very glad that I got to watch Battle of the 5 Armies the next day, because if I didn't, I would have been I would have been annoyed that I had to wait a year for that, especially for the lackluster finale, which I'll get to in my next review for Battle of the 5 Armies. It's just a very fun movie that knows how to fuse energy with great character dynamics, beautiful color schemes, and terrific voice acting. These movies are very reliant on CGI. That's a huge thing I have to mention with the Hobbit films. They're all location based, but everything feels a bit fictional. It feels like a large cutscene from a video game, very nicely crafted, but just very fake and artificial. I think it's just the large, lush background, and everything is much brighter in contrast to the actors. It's done very well. It's just appears fake, and that also has to do with the high frame rate. I saw all these in 48 frames per second, so everything just appears very flashy to me. That's not it's not a bad thing. It's one of the things with the movie. It doesn't have that filmic look of Lord of the Rings. It has a much more high quality, advanced look. And yeah, that's not bad. I really enjoyed lots of the Desolation of Smaug. Scenes in the mine, the scenes where they're just in the barrel going down the river. It's all very fun. The adventure, the scope. This is, interestingly, what Lord of the Rings should be, and it never really dwells in like one area. They're always moving, but that's what the film should be, just kind of always fun. And then you get the Battle of Five Armies, and it's different. This is very much gonna have me rewatch all the Lord of the Rings, which I haven't seen since 2013 and the very beginning of 2014. I actually it took me a year to watch all of them. I was 11, and then I finished it when I was 12 in February of 2014. So that's February 2013. Watched the first one at home. I watched Two Towers at home, I think, over the summer. So that's like a couple months after. And then all the way next February, when I was 12 years old, I watched Return of the King, and I really loved The Return of the King. And it's funny, that was 3 hours and 20 minutes, which is why it took me so long to watch it. I just never had the time. And I got a DVD out of the library, watched it, and I'll put a review up for that because it was a great memory watching that movie. And now Desolation and Smaug doesn't feel like that type of movie. This and Unexpected Journey are the best of the Hobbit films. They have a very wholesome, family, adventurous feel to it, and that's why I like it. I like the Desolation of Smaug because of the grand scale. It feels like we're in the epic zone of the books. And it could go a little harder. I think it could go a little further, but by just kind of skimming on that epic, very intense, suspenseful, fun, Spielbergian edge, it's like a mix of Harry Potter and a Spielberg film. And that's Lord of the Rings has always been harder than that and more intense, but The Hobbit is very light and feels very Spielbergian with its themes of family, adventure, and going away from home. So Desolation of Smaug is definitely the most fun. It reaches out there, and it's one of the better Hobbit films. And probably after Return of the King and Fellowship and Two Towers, it's one of the best. So stay tuned for my reviews of An Unexpected Journey, and